Hello, good afternoon, or good morning for some of you. My name is Rick Vadenhorst, and welcome to this first global event of the DASA Enterprise Leadership Forum. It's actually the second, because this morning in the Central European time at 9 a.m., we already had a great session. Almost 300 people registered for that one. And again, we have a similar amount of people who registered for this session, which is great to see that turnout. At the same time, we're not that surprised, Dimitri, Deborah, and I, because we know how big the DASA ecosystem has evolved over the last 4 years. And we look forward to sharing some things with you today. It's an event particularly focused on the Enterprise Leadership Forum. So we have great speakers from various leadership roles with us today. But before that, I do that, I have a few housekeeping announcements. For some who might be worried otherwise, we do make a recording of this webinar, so you can listen to it on a later stage offline. You will get access to the recording, so don't worry. You will get also the slides, so you don't need to keep making notes or make photographs of all the slides during the webinars. Just sit back and relax. I'm very proud to host this event, but I don't do it alone, of course. I go way back with DASA to the start, basically in 2016. I helped set it up with together with Deborah, Dimitri, and a few others as being one of the founding members. I worked at the competence framework and the DASA principles that became well known. Helped contribute to some courseware, and in 2018. I was asked to lead the Enterprise Leadership Forum because we saw that it was important to mobilize more enterprise leaders to help bootstrap and accelerate the transformations that happen in the various enterprises, but also to connect them and grow the community among them. While at the same time, from a specialist point of view, the community was already growing. From a leadership point of view, more effort was needed, and we did that. And since then, we have had great events in 2019 in Europe, several ones, and now we want to go global. So it's great to see so many of you tuning in today to maybe listen, but also contribute afterwards. But this would not have been possible without two other great people who are both founding members of DASA as well, Deborah Burton and Dimitri Vandenbroek. Deborah, could you share a few things about yourself to the people who do not know you yet?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I've been in this enterprise sector for my entire career, and I won't give you the year that I started. It's just been a lot. It is a pleasure for me. I'm here as a founding member, as Rick mentioned, of the DevOps Skills Association, something I'm extremely proud of, to see the way this community has grown and evolved over time. I'm currently the CEO of Instruct, and one of the things I always say, it feels like it was a match made in heaven in terms of the way our team went out and built a body of knowledge that didn't exist before for, DevOps skills and DevOps ways of working and building high performance IT teams. And as before the virus, the pandemic, as you know, we were gallivanting all around the world doing that. And it was very interesting to be a part of the team that launched DASA, to travel around the globe, having these discussions. One of the things that always that struck me, though, was every time that I would be on the stage at the end of it, people would be asking me about the tools. Well, we love this. We love the DASA competence model, but how do we do these tools, Deborah? So as the CEO of Instruct, I'm very happy to be a part of a platform that actually engages IT engineers to a new modern way of working with challenge-based and challenge-driven learning on actual technology. So I am thrilled to death to be here and to be a part of this. And we're going to have a great opportunity to talk to some fantastic IT leaders today. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. We'll get to who those people are. But before we do, last but not least, Dimitri, great that you're here as well. There are a few things.
Rick, yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for the intro. It's such a pleasure joining you. And of course, Deborah today, the original some of the key original gangsters of DASA, and of course all the experts that will be joining us today. And well, probably even more important, so many folks who joined and dialed in for this session today with all the experts. I'm very happy to see the sign-ups. I mean, I think we have close to 300 registrations. That was the last count, and that's a lot. I mean, I think it's more than we initially even aimed for, and for me, it demonstrates the importance of what we are trying to do with the ELF, sharing stories, DevOps stories from the trenches. But for me, I mean, also with our morning session went very well. It already shown and proven its relevance. Well, I'm one of the founding members of DASA, supported in the first years in primarily on evangelizing our body of knowledge, signed up partners all over the world with a lot of pleasure. And when Deb, my fabulous predecessor, started joining Instruct as of last year, with great pleasure took over the role of managing director, and happy to see well, the ELF over here and sharing stories that it's resonating. I'm looking forward to a fantastic afternoon session, and I'm heading back to you, Rick, for the next topic.
Thanks, Dimitri. We'll go to the next slide then. We can skip this one because I already shared the housekeeping information. We have had a great session this morning with Willem van Boor, Julian Stevenson, Akhilesh Chaturvedi, and Kakiro Dikubo. You can watch that one later, but more important is, of course, this afternoon session. And it will go as follows. In a few minutes after we close this welcome and introductions part, we'll go back to Dimitri because we have something to celebrate, actually, because DASA was 4 years ago. It started, it was very small, and we did not know what we would encounter, but I think we can be very proud to and also celebrate what we have achieved. And it's not just us. The whole point of DASA has been community driven. So together with all of you guys and also some of the people in the panel today, we have done great stuff. And Dimitri will take us on his journey from the start and summarize basically what DASA is at the moment and what's cooking. Then at 4:30 p.m. CET, we'll have short lightning talks of 5 enterprise leaders who are among us today. We have Esmond Sire from Norway, we have John Ruppel and Liam Cassidy from the United States, John being an experienced DASA ambassador and DevOps coach, and Liam is head of automation at Bühler Group, and John is at the moment helping Liam on his DevOps journey. We have also Sebastian Laurijs from NXP Semiconductors, also in a leadership role there, and one of the DASA masters, and Willem van Bork, who is a DASA training partner in his capacity as business development manager at Global Knowledge. So it's a great lineup, also showing from a geography point of view how widely spread DASA is already, and that's great. After the quick lightning talks in which they will each one of them will introduce themselves, we'll have a panel discussion led by Deborah, and we'll have a number of questions prepared for them to see what they can share from their experiences in the trenches. But we'll also open for questions from the audience, and Dimitri will help keep an eye on the questions panel in the GoToWebinar a software that you can use to post questions. If they will not be used during the panel discussion, it doesn't mean they're not interesting, and we can come back to them offline. So please don't hesitate to share and give feedback and ask questions to the panelists. Around 5:15, we will then have the last 15 minutes in which we summarize this event, and I will explain some core ambitions I have for building and expanding the DASA ELF together with your help, because again, this is a community-driven approach we have, and I need you to participate in whatever capacity you see fit. So that brings us nicely on time to the next agenda point. But before we do that, we have a few questions for you as well, dear audience, because we want to know who we have in the call. The first one we'll use now is to ask you what's your line of industry. So please answer in your GoToWebinar screen right now which of those industries fits best, and if not sure, you can always select other. And we will have the results in a few seconds if you all quickly answer this question. Okay, do we have the results, Koke? Yes, we have. We see some nice distribution in which it's clear that most of you have a consulting or education background, which is maybe not that surprising because we have seen from the start of DASA that training and consulting companies are very enthusiastic about DASA and its core principles, but also a great help in spreading the word. And help building a large community to help even more organizations and individuals worldwide. So it's great to have you on board. We'll have a bit later down the road 2 more poll questions, but before we do that, I'll give I have a few things to share about the DASA framework itself and the organization, but I'll keep it quick because my assumption is that most of you by now have heard of DASA and have maybe even had some experience with it. For those who haven't, I think what makes DASA really unique compared to other approaches is that we focus from the start not only on a community-driven approach, but also on coming up with a comprehensive model in which we try to focus on the key knowledge and skill areas that people in a contemporary organization need to have to help accelerate the performance of this organization. And while we could focus on individuals alone and make them even better specialists in specific disciplines, we believe more that in order to create high-performance IT organizations, you need high-performance teams. And high-performance teams are more end-to-end responsible and also more versatile, more multidisciplinary. And as a result, the team members as a whole need to cover all the knowledge and skill areas that are depicted in the left side, which is DASA's competence framework. Of course, some can be specialized in either one of those categories, but together you need to be at a certain maturity level and expertise level to really shine and to do awesome stuff. And this is what resonates really well in the market. We've seen that in the past. The next slide is that here we summarized what 2 years ago was the reason for starting the ELF. Because we saw that in many companies, more and more people had been certified and people were talking and also practicing DevOps and Agile practices. But leadership and management was sometimes lagging or a bit resisting, a bit unsure what to do. And if you apply traditional management approaches to a growing number of people who like more autonomy and who like to build higher performance teams, then that will not really go well always. So we thought it's best to create a big community of leaders to bring them into the DASA ecosystem, not only to get them up to speed and train their knowledge and skills, but also to hear from them what are their experiences are while transforming their organizations. Because as you know, every organization nowadays is trying to profit from change, try to increasingly change its internals and externals to beat the competition, and for that you need to be up to date. And by bringing together the experts and the leaders, we hope that this will only improve. So this is basically, as you see on the next slide, the ambition we have for DASA's Enterprise Leadership Forum. It's all about learning and sharing. And we try to provide a podium for all of you, like this event is an example of, to share stories and to learn from each other. Well, at the end of this event, I'll say a few more things about what we have in store. But if you can't wait or have to leave early, please know that ideally we want all of you to join the ELF as of today. You can do so for free by going to the DASA website. The link is below. You can easily see in the menu a link to the Enterprise Leadership Forum page where you have a sign-up form where you can register. We'll come back to you after you do to discuss in an informal way in what capacity you could contribute, because there are all kinds of ways. You don't need to be investing a whole lot of time. You don't need to spend many resources. We at DASA can provide a lot there, but we do need not only your some of your time, but also your ideas and your passions to help grow this ecosystem, basically. But more about that later. Let's continue first with the second poll question, because before we give the floor to Dimitri, I would like to know, what is your core expertise? Are you in operations? Are you in IT development, software development, or do you have more of a business management leadership role? Or is it more related to testing and QA? Please select what comes closest to what you're currently seeing as your core expertise. This is nice. We see that we have covered all the categories, but what's standing out is indeed the business management part, like in the morning session we had, which makes sense because as an Enterprise Leadership Forum event, target explicitly people in a business management, the leadership role. So it's great, and I'm confident that our program of today will suit your needs then. Thanks, Coco, for this quick poll again. Then, Dimitri, please take it away in how you look back at the last 4 years. We have something to celebrate, right?
Absolutely, Rick, and thanks again, and also thanks for the audience for the interesting people and distribution of folks we have joining here. So Rick asked me to provide an update on what we achieved and how the future will look like. So let's have a look. But first, let's start with the 4 years. I mean, if you look back, I mean, time goes fast, but also a lot happens, you know, in a single month and in a single year. And it's probably a good thing to look back and see what all did we achieve, and also how does the future look like for us. So to reflect on that, we presented a little bit about the community, because our community is key to us. We look at thought leadership, impact we create. We look a bit about the products and the certifications and the roadmap, and of course, it's all about adoption. I mean, you can have beautiful products, but they were not adopted. There's also a challenge. So let's go to our community. So when we started DASA in 2016, we basically kicked off with 70 forerunner companies, 2 exam institutes, a handful of ambassadors, training partners, and some courseware partners. And from the get-go, we were built on a promise, but also an intent for active involvement of our community. So looking back, I think we hit the right chord as we clearly see increased engagement and support from many different angles, and it's all about knowledge sharing and among different stakeholders. So Coco, if you share the next slide with me, and have a look at the some of the details and what is actually happening under the hood when we talk about community. Let's give you some updates. So the first one is the ambassadors. So started with ambassadors more or less from the start, but we slowly expanded this. I think for us a unique and important forum of loyal, knowledgeable partners who spend time with us, you know, about 4 to 8 hours every month in monthly meetings, and it's an incredibly important forum to get inputs, to also take inputs to drive our direction. The second thing I would like to highlight is the social media engagement, because without social media presence on LinkedIn, presence on other social media forums, you also miss out. And we're very happy to celebrate. I think this was from last month, just a couple of weeks ago, to surpass the 20,000 followers, and I think we're already at 21,000 now. So we're going and growing very fast, which is important because this is all about reach. The next community type that I would like to highlight is a new kind of communities around specific offerings that we have. So around the DASA DevOps coaching program, we see a quite active community of practitioners, DevOps coaches, but also trainers, sharing knowledge, stories, tips and tricks, job roles, openings with each other on this up and coming role. And we will talk more about DevOps coaching today. I will also have one slide on that because it's an important topic, and we see a lot of activity around it. The last one is about the influencers. So I'm very proud to explain and share that we have set up a global influencer entourage. I think we have about 17 at the moment, 17 and counting experts. Some of them are also in the call. So they create the links to their communities. They help us push our boundaries and communicate in their own words about the value they see for DASA and the value it creates in their for their customers and their own ecosystems and networks. But finally, this forum, Enterprise Leadership Forum, is a critical forum and a critical community as well. So we have strong ambitions. We want to grow this, make you part of it. We have the ambition to have regional forums. Today we'll take a global review and network, but we also like to really touch on specific case studies, go in that and help each other. And we need you to design that and take us along, and we will take you along in our journey. Coco, please give me the next slide. But there's more than what I just explained. We have our learners, we're getting more and more involved, leaving testimonials. We have a lot of authors of our programs, which is a community in itself. You have an editorial board, and we have very important local experts on the ground, like our very strong and loyal folks also in India, having meetups. We're doing virtual meetups around the world. And we are blessed, really blessed to be communicating and tapping into this large network of experts from various organizations that you see in front of us. Let's address thought leadership, and also let me explain why thought leadership in our perspective is so important, because in the end, it's about are we creating value? Are we creating value for enterprises? Are we creating value for our learners? Because the content, the concepts, I mean, they have to have a serious meaning. And how do you measure that? I mean, one way of measuring it is how many experts write or blog or refer to our programs. And we're very happy to have also in our panel today Asmund Sierra from Norway. He also published a white paper based on his experience on constructing DevOps contracts, outsourcing contracts, sourcing contracts, and how to use the competence approach that we have into agreeing and making the best possible contract. So those white papers and our body of knowledge being used is very, very important. At the same time, another example on the right top of this slide, we had Julian joining us this morning from RMIT, the largest university in Australia. They're also building their programs on top of DASA DevOps fundamentals, and that's also a justification of the meaning that we bring with our programs. We see organizations like Allianz, designing their transformations, embedding the DASA principles as well for their global transformation. So that's also the right confirmation that we're searching for. And in general, yeah, we see being invited to talk about the competence models and a lot of the other important items that we developed over time. Interesting side note, I think from a thought leadership perspective, also the learner perspective is important. You find testimonials on our website, and they are very meaningful as well. So if you ask me, that would also definitely count in what I would consider thought leadership, value for our learners and the impact it has on their careers and their lives. Let's have a look at product. What many of you might not know is that our product roadmap, our certification roadmap, which will be shown in a second, but it's actually based on input from our community. It was our community of experts who prioritized the DevOps coach program over the DevOps leader. And I think this was a great decision now, because we are actually the first, we were the first in the world bringing a DevOps coach program to the market. Coco, can you share the certification? Thank you for that. And on another note, I mean, what we designed in the past, it was built on developing T-shaped or pie-shaped professionals. And if you look at what is required today, it's perhaps more than relevant in today's world to have experts who can and know more than their only individual center of expertise. So looking at the certification scheme in the next slide. So let's tie this all together. So you'll find a lot of things happening. So over the years, we fine-tuned our programs, we updated fundamentals, we brought DASA DevOps Coach to the market. This year, we will complete the leadership programs. So under the supervision of Rick, a team has started to assemble the syllabus for DASA DevOps Leader, which we will share in a closed editorial forum, get the go-ahead, and then release it for global publication, and expect the programs to be ready at our training partners by the end of this year. So there's a lot of excitement happening, and I can tell you there will be more interesting announcements on the product level as well that you will hear from us in the coming months. Final topic is on global adoption. So let's have a look at that. So when the pandemic hit us in March, I mean, I think it took us about 2 weeks to recalibrate our strategy and basically activate new plans. I think the resilience shown in our ecosystem, training partners, courseware partners, authors of the program has been incredible. Best example is what you see in front of this slide. I mean, it took us just a matter of weeks to convert a classroom, 3 days, back-to-back DASA DevOps Coach program, to convert it into 9 sessions with the input of a global community, with the input of experts that were learners and experts at the same time. And in a matter of weeks, we turned it around. And looking back, and that's a difficult one, looking back is probably the best what could have happened, because many of us had doubts if this would have been possible. And now this program is running around the world with happy learners. It's extremely efficient. We're reaching large audience, and I'm just extremely proud to see what we did, and that is working, and that is being adopted to a large extent. My expectation, also an outlook, I do believe that virtual instructor-led programs are here to stay. Why? It's just the learner experience is fantastic. final slides on just a side note on the coach. I mean, also our timing was right. So thanks to our community. So we do see organizations around the world heavily investing in coaching capabilities. And you see them recruiting for very interesting salary as well, which is also pushing those programs. Another outlook on the next slide. It's not a pure outlook, but it's also reality. But you will find it coming your way. And for those of you who are interested, also join us. So it's a new format. It's the masterclass. It's a standard fundamentals program with guest lectures from real experts. So we have in-depth experts with failures, with very exciting stuff from real experts who talk on top of those programs, and that has been very well received. You'll find a lot more than that. So let's call it my session today. A lot has happened in 4 years. Much more is going to happen. You can also play a role, so get in touch with us, and wish you a fantastic event in today's second session. So Rick and Deb, heading back to you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Dimitri. It's a great summary, and it gives again testimony to a lot of stuff that has happened over the years. Before we continue to the lightning talks of the cool panelists that we have who joined us today, we have the third poll question to know a little bit more from the audience, which is a question about what do you see as the biggest challenge at the moment in your organization. We have 4 typical answers that we often hear about. So we were wondering if that resonates with you or that you have maybe another one. So you can also choose other as one of the options. You can select more than one option here if you like. And the results are in. We see that actually all the topics are resonating with you guys, with quite some high scores for the skills and knowledge part of teams, and that is, I think, related to what we see happening in the DASA ecosystem as well. Our products are attractive to many. Many organizations working on their skill development, figuring out what to do and how to invest in a smart way, in a scalable way, also during COVID-19. But winner here again, like this morning, organizational and cultural issues. And it's nice because as leaders, who many of you are, or in a management position, we know a lot about this, but it's also a tough cookie to fix. Fortunately, we have a few great panelists today who could share their 2 cents about this, right, Deborah?
Absolutely. And I'm so pleased to have all the panelists here. If you haven't shown your webcams, please do. Because
before we go to that panel, we give them a few minutes each to actually introduce themselves, because they can do that much better than Deborah and I could do. We'll start then with Esmond, I think. Is that correct? Yes, Esmond, could you say in a few minutes who you are and what brought you here to this great event?
Thank you, Rick. My name is Osmund in Norwegian. Everybody else says Asmund, but that's okay. First of all, I would like to thank DASA for giving me the opportunity to participate in this event. I think it's a really cool event, and I look forward to collaboration in the future as well. My primary background is that I've been working with executives in big Norwegian companies who are major players in both the finance and insurance industry, transportation, telecom, and also the Norwegian public sector for the last 9 years or so. So my work has primarily been focused on helping organizations enter into large managed services contracts due to quite heavy focus on cost optimization programs and stuff like that. But through digitalization and stuff like that, I have also worked a lot with organizations on digital transformation journeys, and also transformation to more agile ways of working, and including organization of agile and DevOps teams to ensure increased level of autonomy. And I've also worked a lot with procurement of the digital technology, so I have some experience. My first interaction with DASA was in 2019 with my then employer, who became a DASA Forerunner member. And quite a couple of months ago, I collaborated with DASA on a white paper regarding how to improve resource requirement specification in Agile and DevOps teams from a procurement perspective. So Coco, you could go to the next slide, maybe. Yeah. So what we saw is that a lot more and more of our clients had difficulties both in defining the needed competence and also acquiring the competence they needed in order to fuel the digital transformation they were going through. So me and a couple of colleagues started basically to do a scan of the market for the proper tools and frameworks or otherwise, so that could help us provide a more complete picture of what competence is needed in Agile and DevOps teams. And in that relation, obviously, we came over the DASA competence model, who provided to be quite fit for purpose to actually do this exercise. And we also saw the opportunity to actually incorporate the DASA competence model into the contracts to increase transparency and give a common terminology between the client and the vendors for both defining the team's competence profile and also improve this over time. So the team profile, then we used basically used the 12 DASA dimension to describe the needed competence, and actually that seemed to be quite different for executives because they are very much they have very much used traditional CV-based procurement of resources in the past. So it has been a very cool exercise, and look forward to actually use it to evolve in the future. So that was very briefly about me and my relation to DASA, and I hope everyone will enjoy the panel debate.
Thanks, Åsmund, and great to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Then we immediately go to John and Liam. Great to have you as well, both of you. Could you share a few things?
Yeah, so my name is John Ruppel. I'm a DASA ambassador for the US. I've been leading these transformations and working with leaders in the world's leading organizations and governments for the past 2 decades, doing just this. How do you adopt and get to DevOps? We were working on this before it was even called DevOps. So with us today, I have one of my clients, I'll say friend and peer, because that's really what happens when you go through these transformations, is you become connected, and Liam. And so for myself, what I enjoy and working with Rick and Deborah and the team and Dimitri and everybody, defining the standards, bringing it out through the global training networks, and then going on hands into the field to apply the standards. And how do we get results for you and your organization? So with that, Liam, can you share with the group sort of your experience on our journey together, and how is it going so far?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'd just like to say it really is a pleasure to be here. Thank you, John, for the introduction. So I'm Liam Cassidy. I'm the head of the automation in North America for the Buehler Group, and we traditionally work in more industrial background, so a lot in the food processing sector, and we are implementing software on an industrial scale, and we're typically following kind of more traditional or we was engineering manufacturing processes. So I believe I've put together a few slides. So Coco, if you just so what was very important when we started this journey was just a little bit of background. Our business was growing extremely fast, which is great, obviously, and we started to look and say, okay, is there a different way to do something? And then I started to look into the market, and I actually connected with Dimitri, and Dimitri was already working with John, who I happened to be working on with a different project. So it was a small world, and we connected. So what was really important, and this is what I like to stress, is that when we did this transformation and started, we wanted to bring the whole team and department part of it, and we wanted to have them engaged. Not that it's coming from top down and we're saying, okay, we're going to change to agile, we're going to change and use the DASA framework. It was, let's bring the team in together, let's do a workshop. And John did a very fantastic job at hosting that. And we really brought the key guys in from the automation department and said, let's start with a white paper. What if we could reset? What could we do different? Like I mentioned, business was growing. The easy answer is to add more resources, outsource more. And we were like, well, maybe there's a different way. We had a fantastic day. It was pretty intense, right, John? But in the end, the guys, they were part of it. They were contributing the team, and everyone came unanimously to the decision, let's go with agile, let's follow the DASA framework. So it was really important for me and the leaders in our group that everyone is buying into this, and I think that's a big part of the mindset and the change. So maybe I put together quite a few slides with the details, so in the interest of time, if we just fly through a couple of them, Coco, so I'll tell you when to stop. So I think these slides will be shared, so this is a bit more of the details of how we implemented. So you can go to the next one. You can skip to the next one. Next one. And then the next slide will be the final slide. So we started this journey the beginning January 2020, and like I said, we made the decision unanimous within my department. Let's go agile. Let's go DASA. So there's two things I just wanted to just highlight. The challenge is, and I'm sure this will come up a lot, is that one of the biggest challenges it is the mindset. It's changing. Like I mentioned earlier, traditionally we implemented software automation in a very traditional manufacturing process, completely waterfall. And then we were like, okay, we're going to change this completely. And it's easy to say, it's easy to get everyone in a room and say we're going to do this. But one of the challenges is to really believe in it and to really stay with it. And where John was really great helping us there is we would do sessions, regular sessions with the team. And he would catch us falling a little bit back into our old processes, our old way, and he would nudge us and say, hey guys, think differently, that there's a different way. And so that's one of the clear challenges, implementing from a traditional waterfall engineering into agile. So it's the biggest thing is the mindset and the culture. That's certainly my experience. Where I would say we have the successes, so we've been doing this around 9 months now, is Bühler is going through digital transformation as many customers, both internally and externally. So we're consulting with a lot of our customers, and what the DASA framework and Agile has enabled us to do is to accelerate fast for quick MVPs or proof of concept projects with that real customer-centric focus as well. And we've really adapted that into a fail fast culture as well. So the iterations, the 2-week sprints and so on. And what was really cool is as well, we've actually, some of our customers, we've applied these methodologies and they've bought into the culture as well. And we've actually built an ecosystem with some of our customers based on the DASA framework. And I found that really exciting and fun to not only do it internally, but then to start to bring in our clients and partners. And then what I would also say we found is a great success, particularly when COVID came along in March and the whole team went to remote working, is the whole Agile DASA framework, and we use Microsoft DevOps. It really is great for remote working. I think that's a big win there. But we wanted to create, so manufacturing culture is traditionally an input and an output. You work a certain amount of hours, you book these hours. But part of our transformation is we wanted to change more to an outcome-based culture, empower our team, allow them, you know, with COVID, a lot of people are working at home now with kids, allow them to have the flexibility that they need in their personal lives, balance that, but still drive an organization for business results and really turn that into an outcome-based culture. And the DASA framework and Agile has absolutely been a win and allowed us to do that. So I went through that pretty quickly. I could talk about this for a long time. I'm very passionate about it.
It's great to hear, Liam, and we will do a deep dive in a later point in time and share the case study of Buller definitely through other. And
yeah,
people will get
my 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, but it's great to see your enthusiasm and also that you share your story. So thanks a lot for that, and we'll hear about a bit more about that in a minute during the panel, of course. But before we do that, let's first move to the other two great panelists we have. Sebastian, thanks for being here as well. Could you share a few words to the audience about yourself?
For sure. So I'm Sebastian Larijsen, and today I'm the IT Essentials guy in NXP, and that just means that I'm making sure that all the IT utilities are being provided for this high-tech company. And why it's so great to work for NXP is that NXP is really shaping the future of tomorrow, developing those products that really change life. Today, even with COVID, we are producing those new, it's called NFC chips, and those ultra-wideband that really transform how we operate today and also supports the new needs of COVID. However, to build that, let's call it a comprehensive portfolio that NXP is designing and manufacturing, we also need to make sure that we acquire the right, let's call it, intellectual property. So throughout the years, we have seen that we need to acquire companies. That means in a certain time, say 2015, we were acquiring a company of roughly 25,000 people, while also divesting due to regulations a company of roughly 11,000 people. So we had change, and a massive amount of change in our organization. And what I would like to highlight is that Agile, DevOps, or a digital transformation is not a purpose of itself. It's, by the way, quite a journey. It's not an easy journey, and I think also a lot of the ambassadors and the senior people in this call already have emphasized it's not easy to transform a company in applying new ways of working. But don't underestimate the power of a common enemy, of let's call it a common goal. So when you are implementing digital and DevOps practices for the sake of surviving your teams, where the coping strategy is to make sure that they deal with the massive amount of change that they're undergoing, I believe that the DASA DevOps framework allows you to really put into those best practices that they have seen to accelerate companies, to help companies, teams, and organizations to deal with the massive amount of change. I think that's really, really critical. In my last endeavor that I've been worked with DASA on the DevOps Coach program, that was really an eye-opener. And I think there we got a huge amount of, let's call it, exposure towards those instruments that you need to help a company transform. It's about learning culture, it's about change management, it's about finding the intrinsic motivation of your knowledge workers. It was really helpful to make sure that you get insights and we call it in Dutch tools to make sure that you, hey, what could I use? And I like the word framework. It's not a Bible, it's not a law that's being written. It's something that you really can tap into and apply those when you need it. One thing that I would like to highlight as a big lesson learned is don't waste your energy on managing change. And that's interesting to say is when change starts to occur in your organization and you're driving new way of working, there will be a lot of resistance and energy being lost in that change. However, when you see the frustration and the energy arising in your organization, it's a clear indication that change is ongoing. Focus on the change, not always managing the noise that the change is generating itself. Believe in what you're doing, and I think DASA is for sure an instrument that helps you guiding throughout the change to achieve the results that your company is trying to achieve, rather than the journey itself.
Wow, it's a nice motto. Don't waste energy on managing the change itself. Great, thanks, Sebastian. And we'll hear more about this topic perhaps during the panel. Last but not least, Willem van Bork from Global Knowledge. Thanks for having
Hi.
you.
Thank you, Rick.
A few words.
Sure, I will keep it as brief as possible. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I need to say that I'm very excited to be part of this panel again. So thank you very much for this great opportunity. I really love this way of sharing knowledge, practices, and experiences. And to me, this panel, this session, it just proves that DASA is not just a body of knowledge that manages a framework, but it's also a community of great professionals. So some words about me. I've been with Global Knowledge for about 17 years in various roles, and my current position is a business development manager. And my responsibility is the training solutions portfolio on agile skills, soft skills, and DevOps as well. And DevOps is one of my main priorities. What we do at Global Knowledge, we deliver something that technology and business can't, and that is skills. Skills are, in my opinion, the key limiter, and on the other hand, the enabler for organizational success. So that's why we at Global Knowledge say we build skills to enable success. We are the largest worldwide provider of IT and business training, like technical training, vendor certifications like AWS, Microsoft, IBM, VMware, and so on. Agile training, Scrum training, DevOps, business analysis, soft skills, end user training, name it, and we do it. Of course, we still do classroom training, but because of the pandemic, we see an increasing demand for subscription-based virtual classroom training, and of course e-learning these days. And with subscription-based, I mean all you can train for a fixed price. So not only asynchronous content, but also live virtual training. So what we do is, instead of having people come to our locations, our offices, we bring the classroom to your homes. We've been a forerunner in the area of DevOps training solutions for the past 4 years, having delivered training solutions, certifications, and assessment services around DevOps, and of course the DASA portfolio. And I must say that the DASA initiative really helped us grow our worldwide training offering, because DASA offers exactly what organizations need, and that is guidelines, principles, and more importantly, as I just mentioned, a community. So we have been supporting our clients with great DASA learning solutions and certifications for the past couple of years. And I must say we're a proud DASA training partner, and that's only because our clients, they do like the competence model, the quick scan, and the certifications. So back to you, Rick.
Wow. Yeah, good to hear, Willem. And it's great to see that in the last 4 years, you've been that successful, helped also by what we are doing together jointly with the DASA people. Great to hear. Thanks. So now everybody has a bird's eye view on all the panelists, which is a great starting point for you, Deborah, to take it one level deeper, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it fabulous to be joined by all these fantastic IT leaders today? And it is my pleasure to have the opportunity to talk a little bit more in depth with all of you. So the first thing I have is a couple questions for each of you. And I'm going to start with Azman. Azman, what is your role, and what is the role and the value of DevOps in terms of building high-performance IT organizations?
I think some of the guys went a little bit into that as well, but for me, I think that probably the most important thing is the cultural part of it, how actually DevOps promotes good values like trust-based leadership, empowerment of teams, autonomy, fail fast mindset, and stuff like that. In addition, I think it's quite important to mention that DevOps also helps in bringing down silos, both between business and IT, and also within IT, between the sort of the traditional operation groupations and development teams as such. So for me, that basically more or less summarizes my view on that question, I think.
Okay, thank you. And Willem, I know that you're really passionate about this. And so what's your take on the terms of the value of DevOps? I think you kind of covered it, but when we're looking at it from high performance IT organizations, what are you feeling and seeing in the marketplace?
Well, I think that the DevOps is becoming increasingly important. Over the last years, corporate IT has had really has had a mixed reputation within organizations. On one hand, they're the enabler and the department where cool stuff happens, but on the other hand, IT has been notorious for being an expensive cost center that may lack alignment with the business. So in this digital era, to survive as an organization and to be successful and to thrive, I think IT should be a strategic enabler or a differentiator that helps you to stay ahead of the competition. And I think that is exactly what DevOps is about staying ahead. And that is because DevOps helps to nurture an effective culture, and it also drives practices like increased flow. It breaks down silos. It tears down internal walls of confusion, and what you get in return is an increased organizational effectiveness, and that's actually what the value of DevOps to me is about.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I have a different question for you, John. What contributions can DASA bring as we focus on building global enterprise leadership community? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the good news is we've already started. And what I mean by that is over the past decade, the conversations have been circular in nature, opinion-based. What is DevOps? Where do I start? All those things. With the DASA competency model, we have a starting place where we can start with people, process, tools, and put costs associated to it or financials to it. What this does is it gives our current leaders in place an opportunity to go have the conversation now with their organization. They have an opportunity to start listening and figuring out what can they do to support, or better yet, serve their organization. What are we really talking about here? We're talking about the echo that you're hearing throughout in this common thread through all these conversations today, which is culture. You're giving your current leaders the opportunity to then be that servant. And so that to me is the critical piece. And that's where our leadership, the leadership curriculum and standards that we're going to be putting together, that's where that starts. And so getting that type of empowerment and getting our leaders to understand that they're serving, that's the critical piece of the culture change. Now, it's not easy, it's very hard. And that's where, if you go to organizations today, if I were to go to them, the leaders that are going to say, hey, John, can you help us transform? And the first thing I say to them is, are you transactional or transformational? If you're transactional, you have to change. That message may not be received well. So by going into it with this approach, with the competency model and the standards and the information that we're bringing, it allows the leaders, the current leaders today, to understand, open their eyes, and start that transition for themselves, realizing I have to change.
Yeah, and I think that's the sense of urgency that we're seeing in the marketplace as companies are transitioning from that whole waterfall approach to a more agile DevOps way of working. Sebastian, what are your thoughts on this topic?
So when I look to the organization we're operating, it's not a landscape. So NXP itself not as an IT organization. However, our IT ecosystem consists of, let's say, roughly 500 to 600 employees and almost 1,900 employees provided by different service providers. And transforming those in the agile mindset providing that, let's call it the way how we set priority, how we drive objectives and key results. Well, also, if you look to the current old structure of those outsourcing contracts, they are built around KPIs and driving margins. If they are able to generate more margin with less people. Well, I think the Agile and DevOps transition is about really driving value for, let's call it, those who are near the organization, being it the business or the customer itself. That's quite a mindset change. That means continuously that you would like to make sure the team are autonomous on selecting what is really required to drive that transformation, to drive what's really required as capability. Is it an enabler? Is it really something that's value? And it's not something that is easy. I think even the transformation looking into our own organization is really, again, limited by the way how culture changes. And something is also sometimes culture doesn't change. Looking into, we are very operated with our providers in the Asian region, means also that you as leader needs to have clear understanding about the cultural differences. How do you work with Indian, or let's call it in the region of Taiwan, those cultures? What are the differences? How do you really see that people are not speaking up? How they are not able to take risk and courage to fail fast and fail forward? And I think that's critical as a leader, but maybe also as a transformational leader, as John emphasized. It is really critical to understand that change is not always the same as you are changing yourself. Because change starts with organization, sure, because that's a driver, but then every single individual needs to be touched to change the way they operate, how they think, how they feel. And I think safety is a core element of the organizational ability to change.
I agree, and I think that in a lot of ways, when you think about leadership and cultural change, it begins with the leaders, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Willem, I want to spend some time with you. I have a couple questions about your presentation that I'd like to get a little bit more insight. So tell me, why do you think the DASA learning programs are so successful in the market?
Yeah, Deborah, because they really are. And I think that one of the key factors for the success is that they're so well aligned. There's so good alignment between what the market actually needs and what DASA has to offer with its framework, with the certifications, and with the additional services that are available. But I must say that I've been in various commercial roles over the past years, and I can tell from experience that there can be a huge gap between what a client needs and what they're actually asking for. And for lots of learning solutions that include DASA, DevOps training and certification, the original question usually is something like, well, I need training on automation, or we are in an agile transition and we need knowledge about the tools. Can you deliver training on that kind of topics? And from a people, process, technology perspective, clients usually want to talk about things that are safe and tangible, like technology and processes.
Yeah, of course.
And it's less safe to talk about the things that really matter, and that is people, their behavior, their pitfalls, and the culture and the challenges that these topics bring. So I think what sets the DASA training programs apart is that they, well, obviously they do cover processes, technology, automation, metrics, lean practices, and so on and so on. But more importantly, they also cover the human factor that sets these programs apart from other training programs. Topics like behavior, culture, team building, influencing, leadership skills, coaching skills. They're all there, and the DASA training curriculum, it covers all those topics, and the approach is holistic, and that is what our clients actually value very much.
Yeah, change is hard. We know it from our own experiences in our own lives. To try to suddenly, we have that saying, and the Americans will relate to this: if it's not broke, why are we trying to fix it? But as we look at this digital transformation, we have to change, and it has changed us, what we see with technology. So it's great to hear how you're addressing that with your clients. Now, tell me, what do you consider the importance of the DASA certifications, especially in light of this paradox that certifications don't change culture? It's more the focus on leadership. Tell me your thoughts there.
Well, let's talk about certifications as a phenomenon first, because I think IT people, they do have a special relationship with IT certifications, I would say, because for them, lots of things depend on those certifications. The right certification may get you a new job, or may even get you a raise in salary. Also, your company may requalify for certain vendor benefits if you renew your certification on time. So yes, from that perspective, I think certifications in general are important, but there's something special about the DASA certifications. I'll talk about that a little later, but what certifications usually do is they certify that you are a specialist in one specific knowledge area. For instance, a hardware product, a software product, or any best practice framework. The difference with DASA certifications is that they're not linked to specific software or hardware solutions or a specific product or a commercial body of knowledge. Now, the DASA certifications don't make you a specialist on one specific narrowed down topic. What you get with DASA certifications is you can become what I would call a certified generalist. And this is a very important distinction, because the role of the IT professional is becoming more generic, and it requires people to be multi-skilled instead of highly specialized. And that is actually one of the most important DASA DevOps cornerstones, I would say, the creation of cross-functional autonomous teams with professionals who have T-shaped skill profiles or pie-shaped skill profiles. And in the DASA theory, cross-functional autonomous teams is a core principle. So a successful IT professional should not only have one specialization, but one or more sub-specialization. And what's so cool about the DASA certification, it's about knowledge, it's about skills, but it's also about enabling those important principles like this, and they set a common ground, and they could be part of the cultural values of an organization. Well, let me ask, can certifications change a company culture? No, I don't think so. Culture is about people's behavior, and changing a culture is about influencing that behavior one person at a time. But certifications can be a very powerful tool for leadership to enable a cultural shift, because it guarantees that the team members have a certain amount of knowledge about underlying principles. Why are we changing at all? And it also gives the leadership a set of values that can make a cultural shift more powerful. So again, certifications don't change cultures, but certified people certainly do.
But there's also, you're seeing that more and more enterprises are looking, as they're going through this whole upskilling and reskilling of people, they're looking for ways to validate that the people have the skills, they have the knowledge that they need to do the jobs that they need to do. So you're absolutely right. And I thank you so much for your input on that. I'd like to go to Azman now and ask a question for you in terms of, what is your vision of outsourcing and DevOps when looking at the DASA DevOps competence model?
I think that's quite a difficult question, but I'll try anyway. I think that first of all, you need to consider that you shouldn't outsource everything, right? So businesses must really consider what are our core competence, which will serve as a foundation for what you actually outsource or what you actually decide to build internally. And as as with the digitalization and increased demands and stuff like that, will actually may serve as a driver for digital competence to being core competence. But secondly, I think my vision for outsourcing contracts in general would be that they rely more on partnership models with shared values and targets rather than the traditional strict enforcement mechanisms like SLAs and penalties and stuff like that, which tends to actually work against its intention. And in these contracts, I think that the DASA competence model would actually can be used to help increase transparency in client-vendor relationships through a shared set of terminology, which can be used both to identify and agree on common targets, but also improve services and competence over time. So yeah, I think that's my main vision summarized. So if you have any other questions, please feel free.
So before I go to another question, I wanted to ask Sebastian, because he's also involved in this discussion around outsourcing at NXP. Do you see some familiarity with what Asmund is describing on your side?
Yeah, so I think just really putting the right, hammering the facts down. If you see different changes in behavior, then also you need to make sure that those are set in the right way. So if you're putting on KPIs and metrics, what kind of culture, what kind of impact are you creating? So we are in the spot of currently assessing the majority of our, let's call, service providers and possible new role tender as of mid of next year. And that's exactly what we are assessing. Are KPIs, are metrics still right? That's KPIs. Are that the right things to put into the contract? Does it incentivize the right behavior? And honestly, I don't believe in that. So how do you build a joint gain share? How do you build a joint plan? How do you make sure that the interest of both of the companies in that collaboration managed properly and provides the, let's call it, the elements that mean healthy relationship? And I'm fully with Asmund that KPIs are a risky area of staying into it. So I'm really looking to some of the expertise of Asmund himself to see how we will see contracts of the because honestly, not yet best practice are industry yet available. But again, this team and this community from DASA will help me on shaping those elements and making sure those contracts are fit for the future.
Right. So a follow-up question for you around what you are doing at NXP, and what would the advice be? What would be the advice you would have for enterprise leaders that are thinking of embarking on a DevOps journey themselves? What should they or shouldn't they do?
Of course, the first comes to mind, be sure what you would like to do. Again, I want to come back with my initial statement. Digitizing or going agile or DevOps is not a purpose of itself. And I think that needs to be very clear. You are making sure that the value streams of the company you operate will benefit of those changes. So is it about developing software? Is it about time to market? Is it about improving the quality, making sure that your intellectual property is managed centrally? If you really are sure what you want to do from a security perspective, risk or compliance, revenue protection, or cost reductions, and I think cost reduction is still an important element of any transformation that you are undergoing. That's what you need to understand. And I think if you're going to embark on the journey of change, understand how change is emphasizing into a company. You can use into different frameworks like the ALTCA framework or the framework that talks about the Kubler change curve. You need to understand how change is being emphasized. Awareness, desire, knowledge. So I think often you see the problem and there is awareness something needs to change or benefit. And you are able to create that energy into your organization by creating desire.
But
and then I think also coming,
does that translate back into leadership and and the way that organizations are working? That's the question. The
Yeah,
whole.
so what I'm building upon is like, we did that too. We created of knowledge by looking into work with global knowledge and Willem. But when we took the leaders throughout the training, when we took leaders on the journey of developing themselves, it was like an ice hockey stick. It went completely different. So making sure that the leaders who are leading the change, should emphasize and witness the behavior themselves, they should also understand what is being required, and then things gonna speed up. Otherwise, it's just something of the, let's call it, the working area, some techie thingy. Well, if they see it themselves, they will see the benefit of it.
So Sebastian, what I'd like to do then is go to John and to him and Liam, because John, you kind of wrote a book on leadership, and I'd be very interested in understanding your experience in guiding organizations in DevOps transformations, and what are some of the key learnings?
Yeah, no, it's great. And Sebastian did a great job framing up my answer to that, which is, in one statement, people and organizations themselves don't realize how significant the change is going to be within themselves personally and the organization. Most of us, or most of the people I work with, and when I first started out, I was like, what is this DevOps? What is Agile? What do we need to do? Where are we going? And so I'm reading magazines, doing the trade journals, talking to my peers, talking to my friends, talking to my vendors, talking to my my support system, all that. But we got to be careful, because this is new for everybody. And there's a lot of, depending upon the politics in your organization or what's around you, the environment that you're currently in. This is why we created the DevOps Coach program, because what you want to do is, I think I forgot, one of our panelists said earlier, you need a generalist that can give you the whole perspective from a big picture. So that's what I try and do with my executive clients, is I say, what's the big picture context for this transformation you're about to go through, or this adoption journey you're about to take on? How does that relate and work from that big picture?
So with that, Liam, I have a question for you. It's similar. How vital is transformational leadership when you're driving change like you're doing in your manufacturing environments, and what's the case for that from your perspective?
Thanks, Deborah. It's a great question. So I think I would start by, we've echoed this quite a few times, but I really want to emphasize it again. For us, coming from a manufacturing process, traditional engineering process, one of the biggest benefits that we've seen by adopting this is that cultural change, is enabling, empowering your teams. And an example of that is trying to attract top talent. Today in the market, a lot of people, they want to work for a purpose. It's not always about the money, right? They want to work for a purpose, and they want to work in a culture that is transformational, that is trying new things. So I think that's been a very successful win. The second thing that we've experienced that's been a great win in this is, and I touched on this earlier, speed is the new currency, one of the most important currencies in today's market. And by adopting the DASA framework and DevOps, we've been able to fast accelerate, deliver with our customers, build those ecosystems, and that's been a real change for us. And it's also been very refreshing for our customers and clients. The feedback we've got from them is like, wow, they're used to working, we set a project, we give them a deadline, we come back 3 months later and we say, here's your product. And that's been huge, and internally and externally. And then the third point I would like to bring up, and this probably takes a bit more patience, is when I was trying to convince inside my organization to adapt this model and change, one of the first things that got thrown back to me is, okay, where's the return of investment? If we're going to invest, we're going to do all of this, or okay, culture, all that's great stuff, but sometimes you need to drill down and where's the business, and
how are we going to make money on this?
Exactly. And I think that takes time, and John touched on that earlier. You need to be prepared to be transformational and not transactional. And there's many white papers. John helped me. There's a lot of research out there that actually shows there are key efficiency gains, that your team is more engaged and more productive. And there's a lot of stuff you can go out there research. I've got some of the links in my presentation too. And we're starting to see some of those KPIs come back now. We're starting to see more efficiency. We're starting to see higher engagement, empowerment of the team. But it's a journey, right? And you have to be prepared to, fail sometimes. You have to be prepared to go a little bit like this. And
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's my experience coming from kind of the non-IT world into, yes, we do software development, but it's more engineering traditional. So it's
yeah.
Nice.
No, we appreciate that. And Asman, I had another question for you, but unfortunately, I think we're just about out of time because Rick is giving me that look that we need to move a little bit. But we will have an opportunity to come back to you.
My heart, because it's actually very great to hear this this story, and also nice to see again, like this morning, that the central themes are really resonating with all the panelists, and that we share the same kind of struggles, but also see the same kind of investment areas where we want to focus on. So that's great to see, and that's also what binds us, I think, in this leadership forum. But considering time, I think we have to, for this panel discussion, close it for now. Thanks a lot, Deborah, for facilitating this, and thanks all panelists for their contribution.
Members. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely see and hear more from them soon, because we plan from DASA to for some follow-up discussions with all of them. So that would be great. But before we leave, give the evening or your afternoon back to you, dear audience. We have a few more minutes in which I would like to share what is at the moment our way of thinking, our ambition with how to build upon the already existing community that we have within DASA. And I called it the E11 Next Steps. And to visualize this, I made the following schematic. It's shown in the screen right now. As many of you know, in the top left part of the schematic, you see that we have quite a body of knowledge already. We have white papers written by some of the panelists of today. We have video, social media articles, and many interviews with leaders worldwide that continue to build up. At the bottom, you see many key roles we have identified within DASA that help us to continue to grow this, and we also benefit from them greatly because they are our eyes and ears in the market. Because DASA never wants to be, let's say, the entity that defines what's the state of the practice or the state of the art. We build based on the experience of our ambassadors, our influencers, and a growing number of professionals who have been certified, or forerunner companies that are on doing these transformations and learning from it. What we would like to achieve as an enterprise leadership forum is that it is positioning a little bit in a central way, so we can ask the community to basically accumulate knowledge about certain areas that are identified as being something to explore further, and something the community is asking us about. We get a lot of requests from our forerunner organizations or from specialists to help them with the next level of their transformation, and we want to keep ahead of this as DASA, and we need the community to do so. So as an enterprise leadership forum, we not only want to bring together enterprise leaders and let them learn from each other and share their stories, we also would like to define key themes and topics that are later turned into maybe new DASA products or new articles, new kinds of events, and can basically be taken up this assignment by the broader community that we're building. And this is actually a cool stuff, a cool thing to be part of, I would say. If we go to the next slide, Coco, I can explain this to you, because we have seen in 2019, last year, that the events we organized from the E11 were quite successful, and we were able to attract quite a few leaders, also senior management of various companies in Europe, to those events. We've not yet started on a structural basis to do this worldwide, but this Enterprise Leadership Forum global event is a kickstart for that purpose, and we want to expand around the globe. So what we ideally would like to see is that we have local chapters where one or more local leaders take the helm in at least identifying what are the key needs and key themes that we need to address, and also the delivery format. It can be a replica of events such as this one. It can be a totally different kind of community-driven approach. So we don't want to go for a one-size-fits-all, but we do have resources as DASA using the platform to bring people together, use our marketing resources, but also facilitate knowledge sharing and building up the body of knowledge. I think being part of that will also provide a nice platform for you. It gives you the opportunity to meet other great folks and help shape the community for the years to come. So that was basically my mini pitch to convince you to not hesitate any longer and also sign up for a role in the ELF. What exactly this role will be is something we can figure out later. So if you go to the website and use Enterprise Leadership Forum page of DASA, we can go to a screenshot of that. Indeed, Coco, you can see there on the DASA website at the bottom in the menu of membership, you see the Enterprise Leadership Forum link. You go to that page and there you can see a registration form free of charge. You can leave your name and email address and a few other details, and we can contact you to discuss basically what kind of role would you like to play. You don't need to be a very busy person spending a lot of time or money in building DASA, but all kinds of roles are possible. And I would love to debate and discuss that with you all. We have already quite a bunch of people also after this morning's event that shown interest. So please sign up and don't hesitate to do that. And that brings us, I think, to the closing, just 2 minutes before we were supposed to end of this event. Dimitri, Deborah, maybe you could pitch in and also share what you take away from today's session.
Deb, please go ahead.
Yeah, of course. For me, it's always a joy to have the opportunity to spend time with folks who are passionate about their craft. And I think our learning is that we've moved to a point where actually sharing that knowledge and having a platform for global leaders to share and talk and discuss ways to achieve success is incredibly important at this time in the path of where we are. Remember, DevOps is only 11 years old, and many enterprise organizations are struggling to reskill, to upskill, to get their teams ready. So by having an opportunity to have a platform like this, it is something that I really encourage those folks that are listening to join in and contribute to, because it does make a difference. So again, thank you to all of the folks I've had the privilege of talking to today that have been on both forums. It's been a pleasure. And as always, Dimitri and Rick, it's a joy to be with both of you.
Yeah, likewise. Dimitri, what did you take out of today?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations, Rick, for your passion, preparation, engaging with the experts, of course. A big thanks to the experts. And I think we did a very great job in distilling some of the key themes, talking about transformation, talking about the relevance and the importance of DASA, and I think also looking at some of the questions we received during the sessions. I think many of us are looking forward to take this to the next level and create more, maybe short case studies. We have to look at the right format, but that's also what I like within this community, that we'll fine tune, time after time, and make it more concise and even valuable. But it was a tremendous session. And getting back to Rick's request on the the open positions, I think there are two ways here. One of them, if you're interested in staying tuned with what is happening on the ELF front, what's happening in the world, just sign up with us and we keep you posted. But for those of you who want to take the next level and be in a more visible role, work with the global experts, help us develop a local community and get in touch and drive new topics, then we would recommend add a message that's also one of your interests, and then we can take it from there. And it will be fantastic as a follow-up. So for now, thanks a lot for your effort, guys. Very, very well done.
Yeah, well, thanks to you as well, Dimitri and Deborah. It was a pleasure again to host this session together. Thanks to all panelists for pitching in and sharing their war stories. It's actually very inspiring. I think the audience will agree. We have nice footage and recording of this session, so you can all read and listen back to it later. We'll share the slides. And for now, I would say go DASA and good luck with your ventures and transformations, and look forward to the next event, and talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.
Fantastic.
Bye. Pleasure.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.